Good evening. I am Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. Thank you for joining us. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, a very special thank you. CWS is about having conversations with people about their journeys. How are they using their gifts and talents to help others? So I'm always looking for people who are willing to share their stories. Because I believe that each and every one of us has a story to tell. I also believe that when we share our stories, we are even more connected, and it brings out the humanity in us even more. I believe that it is not only our successes that define us, but how we overcome our challenges. So imagine, I would ask my guests, a young boy or girl somewhere in the world listening to you talk about your successes, but being affected by how you might have overcome your challenges, how often you got up when you fell. And imagine that young person one day becoming the head of state of a country, becoming the next geneticist or an oncologist, discovering a vaccine that saves millions of lives, or perhaps stopping a genocide. We do not know. And it is this not knowing, and in spite of not knowing, the willingness to give beyond ourselves without expectations, to me, is what truly defines us as humans. I use two analogies, one as abstract to demonstrate this point. Imagine a stone refusing to be thrown into the lake because it does not know the extent of its ripples. Now imagine some of the great leaders who have gone before us, who have made great sacrifices like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, refusing to make those sacrifices because somehow they had a premonition that they will not be around to see the effect of their sacrifice. They sacrificed. And we are beneficiaries of their great sacrifices. I am fortunate and I am extremely glad that I lived in this era to see so many of these leaders, but especially Nelson Mandela, who have just left us, to see the great sacrifices he has made and came out not broken, not destroyed, but to build and to leave a legacy of the importance of goodness, the importance of communication, the importance of forgiveness, the importance of reconciliation. So without much further ado, I'll take a short break. And when I return, I'll give to you Brigadier General Retired Edward O. Collins. Good evening once again. We are back. I am Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS, Conversations with Selwyn. The gentleman next to me is Brigadier General Retired Edward O. Collins. Brigadier, how may I address you tonight?
Orin.
Orin, thank you so very much. For those of you who are tuning in and may not be aware as to why I asked that question, first of all, I ask it out of respect. But second of all, Brigadier General Retired Edward Collins is my brother. And I would like the conversation to go a little smoothly tonight. Before I give you a glimpse of his bio, I want to say this, that to me, Orin is a gem of Guyana soil. And this gem is often glimpsed, only two or a few of its facets are glimpsed. And so there are certain opinions that are formed having just seen two facets. But I am in a unique position as a younger brother in that I have seen many of the other facets. And what I'm hoping to happen here tonight is by the end of this conversation, I would like to twist this gem a little bit so that I can reveal some of the other facets and introduce to you the other sides of my brother. And I hope that by the end of the conversation, we will all have a more multi-dimensional perspective of who Brigadier General Retired Edward Collins is. And so, without much further ado, let me just give you a glimpse of his bio. It's extensive, and I have a packed show, so I'll just summarize as best I can. Brigadier General Retired Edward Orrin Collins was born on 26th of December 1952 at number 40 Village, West Coast, Berbice, the sixth child and second son of a policeman, Edwin Collins. He lived his early years in several police divisions along the coast. Most of this time, however, was spent in Virgin Nugent, East Bank, Essequibo, when his father was stationed at Lenora and Perica police stations. Although his childhood dreams of a career path tended along the lines of medicine, he resorted to the military profession. Thus, he joined the Guyana Defense Force at the age of 21 as an officer cadet in 1973 and was commissioned as a second lieutenant on July 24, 1974. Brigadier General retired Collins has held a number of appointments in the GDF, culminating with the Chief of Staff, Guyana Defense Force. Having attained the mandatory age of 55 years, he retired on 26th of December 2007. His military education and training includes the Company Commander Course, People's Liberation Army, People's Republic of China, the GDF Junior Staff Course, the Combat Team Commander Course, United Kingdom, the Canadian Forces Staff Course, Toronto, Canada, the Canadian Land Forces Command and Staff Course, Kingston, Canada, the GDF's Military Law Course, the Civil Military Strategy for Internal Development, Special Operations School of Defense and Development, U.S. Air Force, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, the Command and General Staff Course, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, USA, the Law of Armed Conflict, Canada, the Advanced Continental Defense Course, Inter-American Defense College, Port McLeslie, Jay Washington, D.C. Brigadier General retired Collins is a graduate of the University of Guyana, from which he graduated with a Bachelor's of Science honors in Public Management in 1996, and of the Central Michigan University, United States, from which he graduated in 1997 with an MSc in General Administration, etc., etc., etc. Orrin, good evening.
Good evening, Selwyn.
And it is indeed a pleasure to have you here, my brother.
Thank you very much. I think it is.
Long, long awaited conversation. Let me start by saying that it is indeed an honor, as I mentioned, to have you as my guest on CWS. So thanks for appearing. It is not often I get to converse on this show with someone I know so intimately. But for the sake of the audience, I'm compelled to ask questions that may seem obvious to some of you. So please indulge me. I believe that it is appropriate to begin our conversation with a quote from James Baldwin, who said, "Be careful what you set your heart upon, for it will surely be yours." So I ask you this: what two things have you set your heart on that became yours, and how soon in your military career did you realize you wanted to be Chief of Staff?
Well, that question could be, those questions could be answered in one way, and that is, I set my heart, first of all, to do something good for young people, because I recognized in me at a very early stage in my life that I could have contributed to the positive growth of young people. I haven't had much influence on my peers, and incidentally, I became a member of the Guyana Defense Force purely because of economic consideration. I used to teach, and I was in Teachers Training College when they were offering a grant of $50. The Guyana Defense Force cadet training. A cadet was receiving then $380. You could imagine the difference. And purely out of economic consideration, I joined the Guyana Defense Force. This notion of the love for the Guyana Defense Force was not with me then. But when I became a member of the Guyana Defense Force, no sooner upon my commission in 1974, I developed a love, and that love was nurtured and became solidified when I arrived in China and spent a period of time in my early years. And so molding of my career, I think, would have been when I was in China, and I decided that I will make the Guyana Defense Force, the military, my career. And having made that decision, I said it's the top. I always believe, I still do, that once you put your mind to something, once you get involved in anything, aim for the top. And if you have that belief in yourself that you're going to get to the top, and with faith in God, it is truly going to happen. Well, I testify to that.
Um, we come from a mother who is very is a very strong Christian and very strong in our beliefs. And I want to ask you this: what is your favorite memory of her while you were growing up as a child?
Have no fear when God is near. I always remember that. And
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sure that has been the favorite instruction to all of our siblings and all of our children. Have no fear of nothing, fear of failure. Have no fear when God is near. Fear of the dark in those early days, fear of people doing you harm, fear of being bullied. Have no fear when God is near. And that I will always remember, because it took me through the years I've spent in the military, and it helped me to deal with the challenges that were thrown along the way. So I'll always remember that.
We
I'll share that with anybody. Have no fear
we
when God is near.
we have an older brother who was in the Guyana Defense Force before you joined. Our father was a police, armed services, run through the family, run through the blood. What what was M's what was our mother's reaction to you when she found out that you wanted to become a soldier?
Well, I always share that with my friends, that she never wanted that, because the older brother whom you alluded to, um, his experience in the Guyana Defense Force then was not necessarily one that she wanted me to follow. She expected, well, Oren will remain in the home, be a teacher, and assist with the development of the siblings. But there was this, as I said, accidental departure into the military, and then I developed a love for it. And nevertheless, was able to do the assistant part with the siblings, but she never wanted that. But soon she became amenable, and she developed an understanding that this is what this our son wanted, and therefore she gave all her support. Even throughout the time I was in the military, she's always there, supporting you, cheering you on. She's my greatest cheerleader. And so, even though at the beginning she did not want it, she soon changed her attitude, and that is good. Once you, as a youngster, if you get your mother's support, indeed your parents' support for anything you do, that's a very important element in the equation of your own growth. And I found that to be very, very helpful and beneficial to me, and I'll share it with anyone. Get your mother's support. Share with her what your dreams are. And once she supports you, then you will achieve it. It will become a reality.
Since we are exploring your early timeline, it would be remiss, or I would be remiss if I don't ask, invite her and ask her a few questions. Is she around?
Well, yes, she's here.
M?
Yeah, could you come around? While she's coming, I should mention that this, indeed, you alluded to the long-awaited conversation, and you know that it should have been done in the studio
Yes.
in New York. I came in here yesterday because of the arrangements I have, and therefore it is done here, and I think it is God's intervention that I can share with you and your viewers the views of my mother.
Come a little closer to Oren.
She's like to say hello to Selwyn.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, but still fat.
Sense of humor is still there.
Can you hear me clearly?
Can you hear him clearly?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Wonderful. Oren, this gentleman that is sitting next to you, I am sharing with the world his journey, his life story. When he was a child, what did you know about him that that when he became an officer and later a chief of staff, it did not surprise you. What did you know about Oren when he was a little boy that you knew he would turn out to be would turn out to make you proud?
All the drilling he used to do. Mark time, left, right. And I just look at him and say, you're a policeman child, but you're not going to join the force.
You heard that, Taylor?
Yes, yes.
Policeman child is not going to join the force. What you wanted me to be?
A teacher.
All right.
A teacher.
Yes.
But I remember how proud you were when he became a cadet, that you kept a Thanksgiving service.
Yes.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes. And that was very, why was that so important for you to give thanks?
Yes, there is a God. And if he put his trust in him, he show him the way.
Yes.
And he did that.
He did. Well done.
Yes.
He did. I'm a living testimony to that.
Yes.
Anything else for Mom?
Yes.
Anything you want to say to Omar or anybody that might be listening?
I love all my children, grandchildren,
Great grand.
great grand. I love them all. I also love people.
I know that. That I know, That I know.
Yes.
You know, it is always a pleasure when I call you and hear your voice and the joy that it gives to me, especially when you laugh. You have such a rich laughter, and I think that's who we inherited from you and Daddy. But you have such a rich laughter that it settles my soul every time I hear your voice. I am very fortunate, and if I had to choose again to come back into this world, I will want to come back through you. You're a special mother.
Yes.
You did the best with
Thank
what you have.
Thank you.
You are welcome, Em. You are welcome. Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you.
Good.
Well, telling you in my early days, you were saying, remember they were the other mothers. Remember those two who played the mother when the real mother?
Oh yes. Are they there?
My big sister and my second big sister.
Is Joy there? Joy and Megan.
And Megan is
Let me show.
This is a conversation that you're letting your viewers into that we normally have.
It is important.
And it's indeed a powerful moment. There is Joy.
It is important. Yes, it's Joy. It's interesting that her name is Joy, and I didn't get much whipping because she migrated when I was a toddler. But the person who got a lot from her is the gentleman who's sitting next to her right there. Yes, that same pretty, youthful, smiling princess you're watching at whipped him.
To be my mother.
Whipped him, right? But he was very, come to think of it, if I may recollect as a child, he's always had tactical moves. I remember there was something he did. I must have been 5. And indulge me because I have a remarkable memory for childhood things. Okay. I must have been 5, and I don't know where he went or what he did not do, but I remember she was waiting for him, and she eventually snatched him. And then he wriggled out of his shirt.
They lose the front button.
Lose the front button, wriggled out of it, left my sister hanging with the shirt hanging in her hand, and what did she do? She started tramping up, right? So I don't know what happened later on that evening, but yes. Joy, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
What can you tell us about this gentleman, and did he surprise you when he became Chief of Staff of Guyana? Did he surprise you at all?
No, not at all. Oren has always been a very resourceful young man. In his early days, he made use of anything he can get his hand on. I can remember him during the holidays, Christmas time. He made it was with he made the steel band,
Okay.
and he also went around. He made the bull.
The bull cow.
And there he was, and he went through the village dancing with the bull.
Oh,
and,
God.
And then there was this guy who would come through the village in Virgin Newton,
Right.
and his name was City Cowboy.
Okay.
And he would dress up with all these different things, bells and all of that. And then you hear the bell ringing, you heard City Cowboy will be coming. And I said, there comes Oren, City Cowboy is here. So our childhood was very, very memorable. We had wonderful neighbors that we're still friends with to this day.
Yeah.
And I will never forget Virgin Nugent Tushin. It's in my blood, it's in my soul, and it has made me, my upbringing has made me the person I am today. And I know it has made my brother. I'm sorry. The brother he is, and all my siblings. I mean, first and foremost, also, we are a family that love to laugh. There isn't, none of my siblings is angry, or you see them, there's this serious side. We laugh about the simplest things.
Yes, that's
and I think that has retained in us and make us youthful, and we continue to enjoy life. My mom is here with us. She'll be 91 next month. And she is full of laughs, full of jokes, full of life. And my sister Megan
Where is she?
is here living with us. And so it's come Megan. So it's good. It's good, and I'm happy.
Good.
I'm happy that my brother is here.
Having this conversation.
Yes.
Colin's conversation that Selvin is sharing with the world.
Where's Megan?
She's there, but she's
shy?
very shy of
She's
the
shy.
camera.
Okay.
But that's all right. What's your conversation, Selvin? Whenever?
Yes. Well, my sister.
Should Joy remain here?
Joy, thank you so very much.
You're very welcome. And
I know I'm gonna pay for that.
Yes, and that's the cue for me to exit. So I am exiting.
Good.
Bye.
Thank you.
Well, good.
So there you have it. I twisted the gem. I twisted the gem just a little bit, and you got a glimpse of another facet of this remarkable gentleman. So let me proceed, Oren. Is there a particular experience from our parents that shaped your life?
Experience?
Yeah.
Well, I think what has shaped my life is the demand of my mother for us to attend Sunday schools in the village, from one Sunday school to the other. If you know, we make it as a joke now, but all the churches in that village, there was 5 of them. We attended all the Sunday schools. We were members of all the churches. She just insisted that we go to the Sunday school, and that sort of imposed discipline has helped to shape me. I became very, very disciplined. Everything I set out to do, I approached it with a sense of purpose. I think I will always remember that. Even though at the time I resented every bit of it. Why should I be going to all these Sunday schools? But in fact, my entire Sunday, one church, from one Sunday school to the other. And if I'm to locate a time or an event or several events that would have shaped me based on my mother's imposition or my father's imposition, would be attending those churches. Yeah.
And you're 6th of 9 children, large family. What was it like growing up in such a large family?
Oh well, you just had a glimpse. You can. It was fun.
Lots of fun.
Apart from the normal sibling rivalry and the pranks that we play on each other, when you turn your face, what will happen to your meat? And then you see my upbringing. Then remember, I was the 6th, but the 2nd boy. At one time, I was the only boy in the home. So eventually, I became the only person doing the man things, and it was a burden. It was too much for me. So you can imagine when my little baby brother came by. When he came along, I was so glad. to find that I could share things with him. You know, he was almost like a pet. I took him around everywhere I went.
Mm-hmm.
He was very close to me. Always a 10-year difference. To this day, we are close. You will recall that during my sojourn in the military, every time I come to the United States, I will find myself at your place, irrespective of what I was doing, irrespective of where I was staying. I would find myself there to have this bonding, to have this relationship maintained and nurtured. And so that was the brother to brother relationship. But with all my sisters up now, right, I'm here. I left New York. Should have had this conversation there in your studio. But I'm here because I have to return at a certain date. And so I came here with my mother. And it was, oh boy, from the time Joy picked me up, it was back to boyhood days, back to the days of Virgin Nugent. So we maintained that relationship, and it was the love, the understanding of each other. I think I will always treasure them.
Mm-hmm. You always strove for excellence, from what I remember, and to be the best in any endeavor. What do you believe drove you, and where did it come from?
And I would say, as I said before, my mother insisted on us believing in ourselves. And so when I became a member of the Guyana Defense Force, I said I have to go to the top.
Mm-hmm.
I always sought to do something or to perform in a way to make my parents and my siblings proud of me and to set the path for others to follow. And it was an internal thing. I couldn't stand failure.
Mm-hmm.
I always strove for perfection, although I know it's almost unattainable. But I always strove to do the best in everything I do. I spend that time working hard to do the best. It's an internal um, machine, almost an internal uh, motivation that caused me to reach to the heights.
If while filling out that application for the officer cadet school, someone had told you that you will one day be in command of the armed forces, what do you believe would have been your reaction?
I would have doubted it because there were so many. Even there's a certain time in the Guy Force when I probably was the rank of a major. So, and if you were looking at the pecking order, and you look at the by um, sheer calculations, you have said no, no, I would not be there because how things are, how things were at the time. But there's a story that one must always remember: what God has willed for you, it will materialize once you believe that.
Yes.
Because that pecking order became nothing at the time when I was to have been elevated. Things just start moving away, and so I realized that this is God's doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I believed in it. That this is God's doing. What is to happen will happen, and so I kept the faith. I
You
could remember my own elevation to the appointment of chief of staff. It was days before there was a confirmation because of other considerations by the authorities.
yes.
But I still maintained that faith.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was sworn in, the first thing I did was say, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
I must give thanks to God for this and ask for God's continued guidance in the way I will lead and manage His people under me. That was part of my swearing in statement. And so I still hold on to that belief in God,
Mm-hmm.
that faith in God in everything I do. It's working. It's never failed me yet. I don't think it will ever fail me.
What, Chief of Staff, walk us through your best recollection of the first moment you were told that you've been promoted to Chief of Staff of the GDF.
Well, I had this quiet moment with myself in the office. I had just been sworn in. I went in there and sat in my office and took a quiet moment with God indeed and say, well, look, I'm here now. Thank you for bringing me this far. Wherever you take me, direct my paths. I have this belief that you'll take me along. And so everything thereafter, I believe it was God's doing. So my first recollection is, look, I would spend the next 3 years, because I knew then it's 3 years, it would have been 3 years, to make a contribution to the Guyana Defense Force that will be lasting.
What can you what can you tell us about you that most people do not know and that would may surprise them?
It's my belief. I think as might be coming out now is my strong belief in God.
Yes.
Because I was this gung-ho military soldier. And most of my peers and those who would have interacted with me in the Guyana Defense Force in my early years would have seen me as this competent, war-fighting breed. But my belief in God was not known to many, only those who were close to me. And I think that is something that they would not everybody would know. I think my love for people, as my mom just alluded to, it's almost genetic. I think they knew that. Ensuring that those who come along, who you had responsibility for, if you encounter them at one level, that you should never leave them at the same level. Contribute to their development. So most people know me, I think, would know me with that. But my belief, what was driving me, this belief in God, this love for human beings, all came from this belief. And that's why I pointed out that what would have been the most memorable contribution of my parents, my mother particularly, on my early years would have been attending those churches. And that period remained with me forever.
I want to take a short break, but before I go, I want you to ponder this particular question. Being raised by a police constable and a housewife for the most part, what did it mean to you to have accomplished so much personally and professionally, having come from such humble beginnings?
Good. You want the question answered?
No, I'm going to take a break. We are back with Edward Collins. Aaron, the question I asked you before I took the break is, being raised by a police constable and a housewife, what did it mean to you to have accomplished so much personally and professionally, to have come from such humble beginnings?
First, I was very, very happy to know that I could have nailed the lie, that nothing good could come out from an environment that I came from. And I was very, very proud to know that I could have made my father also proud, because, as you said, he was a constable and my mother was a housewife. And I'm very, very elated to share with young people, boys and girls, as your conversation as part of the principles of your conversation is to share with young people, because Guyana is starving for role models. And invariably, oftentimes, our young people feel that because of their environment, they can do nothing. They can go nowhere. Well, I'm a living testimony that my father, who would have been at the lowest level of the security hierarchical structure, produced a son who rose to the highest in the country. So he was not alive when I when I became the chief of staff, but he was alive when I was rising. When I was growing in promotion, I could see it in his face. He was so happy, and I was so happy to know that he was happy with what I was doing. And young people, young boys and girls who are striving, are now beginning their career, should always remember or have it as an element in the equation that let me make my father proud. Let me make my mother proud in whatever I'm doing. And invariably, they will be able to resist peer pressure. And they'll be able to resist other considerations that cause our young people to detour. I am here, living testimony of one who came from very humble beginnings. Love for mother is very important. The Bible says, honor thy father and thy mother. Love for your parents and take their guidance. They've been this way before. I always remember the story. I bought my first car that my father could have never afforded to buy for me. I bought it on my own. I visited him one day and he looked outside, and I said, Oren, that car dirty, boy, go and wash it. Instantly I responded. I mean, as a major. Instantly I responded because there's a father talking to his son. There's nothing about Major Collins. He's a father talking to his son. And when I was washing the car, I said, my God, this man never bought me a car. And I think he felt good about it because he recognized the humility that he inculcated in us, still remained, and that was good for him. And he was there always giving me advice when I became accelerated, promoted in the guy in defense force. He came to me and said, look, be careful what you're drinking. Be careful who's giving you glass. I said, Daddy, that's not the police force. He said, no, I'm warning you. Well, I lived to see that what he was saying made quite a lot of sense. Take no chances. But he was always there giving guidance, so I maintained that link with him. And I was glad that he was able to see in me what he wanted for himself, but other environmental pressures caused him to be what he was when he left.
If he were alive when you became chief of staff, what do you believe that conversation with him would have been like?
He would say to me, my boy, I knew it. He said, I knew it. Anyhow, still be careful. Watch it now.
I can hear him.
Yes.
I can hear him.
My mother was also proud. She was there. She is always, whenever I am visiting, she's always giving you that hug and that smile. I can remember. There was a particular incident that lived with me forever. When I was a lieutenant, thereabouts, there was this the burning of Congress Place, and so the security forces, the special branch particularly, were going around for pursuing leads, and they came to my home. I was not there and took up my briefcase and asking my parents, my mother, what is in this briefcase that has a relationship to the burning of Congress Place? My mother said, this boy is my son, he's a military officer, and she was there, that's what I was told by my siblings, and she was there holding on, fighting them off for the briefcase.
I remember.
She said, no, this is not the son, this is not the, oh God, and I will always remember, she fought like a lioness to defend our offspring's honor, to defend the truth. And so, even at that stage, she was still there fighting up to now. And so, I think both of them have been proud. And I'm happy about that.
For one who has had a successful military career, what do you tell a young person who is skeptical about joining the military for fear that their circumstances, albeit humble beginnings or poverty or so on, might impact them negatively? What do you say to them?
I say to them, as I have been saying to lots of people, right up to this day, there are those in my church and any other relative or villager who would know that I was there, would say, look, I want to go into Guyan Defense Force. Can you advise me? I sat last month with one youngster who wanted to become a private soldier. His mother brought him, said, Chief, I wanted to talk to this boy. I spent some time talking to him. If I could save one, if I could keep one on the right path, I feel good about that. So I say, go. Opportunities are many. In my days in the Guyan Defense, my early days, we did not have the opportunities that the youngsters are having now. One of my passionate calling was to have the Guyan Defense Force Officer Corps and senior ranks develop in their academic education. And I went for that like a passion, with a passion. And so I was very happy when that occurred. When I left the Guyan Defense Force, almost the entire officer corps, the senior officers, all had university education. Half of them would have been having a master's degree. I'm happy to hear now that the last chief of staff is in pursuit of his PhD. I'm sure this present chief of staff will be doing the same. And so I have been able to have a master's degree when we became chief of staff, and I'm happy to see that it is increasing. It's getting better. And so I think young people could join the Guyan Defense Force, knowing fully well that their development is assured in every respect. So I will encourage them to be there. It's a place for human development. They don't have tanks, they don't have much equipment. They can develop as a person. And we always, in those days, strove to ensure that you come in here at one level, you must leave to go back to society at another level, a better person, equipped.
In the chat,
and so
yeah, sir.
I will advise them to join. The sky is the limit. As I said before, believe in yourself and have faith in God, and you go beyond the skies now. You talk about space.
If we may take a moment to do a slight position adjustment, not so, you don't have to go back that much, but yeah, that's cool.
Get too comfortable in conversations.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad. In the chat room, Brian Smith said waiting on the show to start. Fitzroy Corlett said hi, Selwyn and Eddie. This is Bunny joining to hear you guys. And Peter said one of the greatest chief of staff. What surprised you? What surprised you the most about the office of chief of staff?
The most about the office of the chief of staff in my time,
Yes.
did not get the kind of support it required from the civil authorities. They could not remove that suspicion which attended to their assumption to the leadership of the country, of the military. And in my time, I did not get to remove that. I don't think it will ever be removed. But that was my greatest surprise, because in all my schooling, as you would have read out there, my military education, most of it would have been in Western countries, and civil-military relationship must be at the prime for the organization to grow and be able to perform its constitutional role. And that was the most surprising thing for me. That, well, at least I have been appointed, and therefore there's a basic expectation from those who voted you there, that you relate to the holder of that office, or to the office in a particular way, in a way that will help the nation. And that was my surprise.
You visited China as a young lieutenant in the GDF on a course with, I believe, Joseph Harmon and Andy Worrell. Then, many years later, as Chief of Staff, what was different about the two experiences, and how did the latter visit affect your impression of China?
The latter visit mean going back there and
as a Chief of Staff?
Oh yes. Oh, there was tremendous changes. In fact, my love for the Guyan Defense Force, for the military, as I said earlier, began when I was in China. And the way they treated us. We were third world countries, and third world countries we were given certain privileges, certain treatment. We get special treatment. And so I couldn't understand why people do not like socialism. You know, we came back home loving it. When I went back there, the difference is remarkable. Everything, the relationship, even the military that I visited, they took me to the school I was attended. And you could see the difference, apart from the technological advancement that is now being used for their own training and their own war fighting roles. The attitude. But you know, China's gone through a remarkable transformation 3 decades after.
What would you consider to be your top 1 or 2 national security challenges during your tenure? If you are at liberty to mention any at all.
Well, the top would have been the external threat that remained there because of the claim by the two countries, and that every chief of staff everybody in the security structure will never forget that. Will never ever put that in the backbone. It is always there, irrespective of who is there, irrespective of who the leaders are in those two countries. The fact that Suriname is still showing part of Guyana as Suriname on Suriname's map, and Venezuela still maintains the zona reclamación. Those two realities tell us, well, that will always be there. And the other consideration would have been, at the time, would have been the internal situation with regards to the crime. Crime had escalated to that extent that the military had to be involved, and the military was not trained for crime fighting. Two different subcultures, the military and the police. And so we tried. We provided support. The military had different types of models for analyzing the threat. And so that would have been used, but in terms of fighting crime, as a soldier fighting crime or preventing crime, we could not. No matter how we tried, we were just not prepared for it. We don't have the constitutional authority. We don't have the training for it. And so those were my two biggest security issues at the time.
One last question, and then we'll take a break. We live in the era of cyberspace, and there are lots of digital chatter. And so one cannot escape the various opinions about Guyana, where Guyana is going, the military, the armed services, crime, as you mentioned just now, and so on and so forth. I want to ask you this question, give you an opportunity to address, perhaps, in your answer, some of these things. What about the office of the Chief of Staff that might surprise the average lay person? What are some?
You on that now too? Or after you return? You're saying take a break and then return?
No. See if you can answer that, and then we'll take a break.
That the Chief of Staff office does not have the power that the average person thinks that it has. The Chief of Staff, the office of the Chief of Staff, or the Chief of Staff, still have a subordinate role to the Commander-in-Chief, to the politicians, and the power that the average person will think that the Chief of Staff's office has is not there. There's a defense board that few people, the ordinary person, may not know. The defense board has a tremendous amount of responsibility. And so the Chief of Staff is confined to that reality, that his power comes from the civil authority, and he does not have the wide ambit. Operationally, yes, the office of the Chief of Staff has a lot of responsibility for operations, but operations are only determined and directed by the commander-in-chief internally. The Guyana Defense Force, the military, cannot get involved in any internal security operation unless he's invited or is requested to do so by the civil authorities, politicians down to the Minister of Home Affairs, down to the police force. And so I think that will surprise people, that the power is not as the ordinary person will think.
Thanks. Let's take a quick break and